Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. 2020 was a turbulent year for the Turkish economy. Like the rest of the world, the country enforced costly lockdowns to contain the coronavirus. It saw steep job losses and volatile swings in the value of its currency, the lira. But now, after more than a year since the pandemic began, Turkey's economy is showing signs of improvement. The International Monetary Fund says it expects the Turkish economy to grow by 6% in 2021. It also predicted there would be a modest drop in inflation towards the end of the year. That's in large part to the strengthening lira, a reversal from the record lows it saw last year. In December, Turkey and the UK signed a free trade agreement, which is expected to further boost exports. A lot of optimism is also stemming from the rollout of a coronavirus vaccine, which has already reached at least 2 million people. But with growing fears of a new variant of the coronavirus and an uncertain global economic recovery, will Turkey's run of good luck continue? And to answer that, joining me from Istanbul is Taha Arvas. He is a financial columnist and analyst, and Alvaro Ortiz, who is the head of big data research at BBVA in Madrid. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Taha, the IMF expects Turkey's economy to expand by around 6% in 2021. What's your take on that? Right. And what specific measures you think made that possible?
Right. So I think it's important to note that that figure is one of the greatest for countries in the region and around the world. And I think Turkey is going to enjoy that growth figure primarily on its early actions that it took with lockdowns in Turkey, and then staggering those lockdowns later on. And now we're currently in a state of on-off again lockdowns in Istanbul, which is in Turkey rather, which I think helped both not only alleviate the pain, the economic pain from the pandemic, but also slowed the growth of the spread of the virus. And that's why we have this growth. I think if we had just shut down completely, or if we had done the opposite, then we would have lost overall economically and health-wise. But I think the combination of the two served Turkey well. And 2021 should be a great year in that respect.
Alvaro, you have stated that Turkish economy could even expand by 10% in 2011. What made you come to that conclusion, and how is that goal achievable?
Well, we expect for this year it is in line with the IMF with the 5 to 6%. What we expect is that the economy it is going to grow in the first half of the year near 10%. There is a special reason for that. It is first, it is that the first quarter it is being better than expected, and second, that during the second quarter we will have a very low base relative to the last year. So that don't be surprised if the economy grows near 15% in the second quarter. So with that we have a 10% during the first quarter, and then we expect some deceleration. So I think that this 5%, 6% that the IMF it is mentioning is quite feasible.
So Taha, actually, you have just briefly mentioned it, but we know that Turkey has been aggressive in rolling out COVID vaccines, and it already distributed 2 million people in the country. Can you talk about how these measures could affect its economy as well as its tourism sector this year?
As you said, the federal government in Turkey has been very aggressive in pushing the vaccine, in distributing it, and this will help to obviously protect the population, but also prepare it for the arrivals of tourists just as tourism season kicks in here. But more importantly, as you probably know, there have been new steps to allow for new arrivals, tourists, to be tested before coming to the country, which will allow both tourists that are already here and tourists that hope to come here to be at ease in knowing that they will be safe, that the country is very much proactive in its attempts to make sure that the virus isn't spread. Because you can go on vacation anywhere, but if you go to a country with no tests or with no serious vaccine rollout, you're just going to be inviting disaster. So I think Turkey has been successful in that respect, and if it keeps these precautions in place until the vaccine is spread wide enough so that herd immunity is achieved, then I think it'll be in a great place.
So, Alvaro, how have the government's new economic policies, in your opinion, changed the course of the country? What do you think has specifically been done to put the Turkish economy back on track?
Well, sincerely, in our opinion, has been a radical change. So it is truly a game changer. The new policies implemented by not only by the central bank, but especially, but also by the finance ministry are much more coordinated, tackling the vulnerability. The main worry it is now inflation. I think that this is pretty sound for the economy. The foreign investors have started to pay off. You can see also the lira quote these days. And what it is needed is persistence. So this is not a matter of just to work on that 2 or 3 months. We have to maintain this line for a long period of time. And at the end, the results will pay off.
So according to data, Taha, Turkey's manufacturing activity has improved and job creation hit 3-year highs, as well as Turkey saw records exports in December and strong numbers in January. How much of an impact did the Turkey-UK free trade agreement have on these good figures, let's say?
I think that the anticipation of the agreement may have helped those numbers, definitely, but for the full effect to come in, we're going to have to wait until 2021 to see the impact. I did want to mention one other thing that we were discussing earlier. It's that Turkey's economy is very much consumer-based. So while this is very important, these figures you're talking about, it's important to note that the Turkish consumer, like other developed countries, has quickly increased its spending online and has moved to technological ways of acquiring goods, which 10 years of growth happened in a matter of months in Turkey as far as adoption of these measures. And obviously the UK-Turkey agreement is very important. When you mentioned that, I was remembered a Turkish company that had gone to the UK to start a business in delivering goods online there, and that's why I brought that up. But I think the UK-Turkey agreement will be very important going forward, and 2021 will be a year in which the fruits of that labor will blossom and will be beneficial for both countries.
So Alvaro, in terms of foreign direct investment, what kind of opportunities does Turkey offer?
I think that the general climate for FDI will continue to improve this year after the pandemic. The most important thing, I think, is to continue with these really sound policies by the central bank and the ministry to reduce structural volatility. Turkey is a population dynamic economy with normally high growth. And if we continue to make efforts to reduce the volatility and uncertainty, I think that the investment will come back again.
So, Taha, behind its traditional partners, where else could Turkey lay an eye on in terms of drawing foreign direct investment?
I think it's the pandemic has obviously it's been bad for millions of people around the world, but it's also created new opportunities for a lot of countries and a lot of investors that are looking for growth. This is going to be a problem for, frankly, many European countries, many other countries that were struggling before with growth. Countries that were doing great before will only do better, and countries that were doing poorly may do worse. So if you're looking for returns on investment, as far as FDI goes, specifically long-term or medium-term investments to pay off, you're looking for high growth countries with a lot of room to grow, potential to grow, and Turkey is one of those markets. And we see anecdotally recently some major steps coming from the Turkish government's investment office that attracts FDI, and we hear that there are a lot of large companies are looking to invest in countries like Turkey specifically with this growth potential. So I think it could be anywhere as far as if you're looking for locations. Far East, obviously North America, Europe. These are all countries that are looking to do well and looking for their investments to blossom. And I think that's what they're going to do by investing in FDI in Turkey.
So, Alvaro, moving forward, what should be the appropriate policy mix as the both Turkish economy as well as the global economy still try to navigate the COVID-19 uncertainty?
But I think that the policies could rebalance a little bit. I think that this year we will need tight monetary policy, especially because because Turkey has a special problem with inflation. I think that fiscal policy could target some of the more vulnerable people due to the pandemic. But in essence, I think, and I agree with the central bank, that we have to maintain tight monetary policy at least for this year until the inflation expectations start to reduce.
So what if, Taha, new variants of the coronavirus prove difficult to contain? How would this impact the Turkish economy? I mean, could we be back to square one?
Right. So this is the $64,000 question. The variant. We hear of more dangerous variants being exposed, by the population being exposed in Europe, in South Africa, in other countries, in other parts of the world. Turkey has yet to experience that level. There is, like I said, anecdotal evidence of these variants arriving in Turkey, but it seems to be very small at this point. Obviously, the new implementation of these tests before arriving in Turkey from foreign countries is a good step. Quick rollout of the vaccines will be very important because we hear that the vaccines also help mitigate the response, the body's response to the variants, which is good news. So if the variants are very troublesome, very much more dangerous than COVID-19, which is dangerous in and of itself, as we know, then that's going to be a challenge for a lot of countries. But like I said earlier, Turkey is one of the most proactive countries in battling the virus, so that's going to be good in allowing it to shield itself from exposure to economic downturns because of these new variants.
So, Alvaro, how well resistant is the Turkish economy as well as the Turkish banking system against possible shocks or, let's say, even sanctions?
I think that the possibility of sanctions has diminished after the latest news on cuts in November and December. What is important is to maintain a significant buffer of credibility and also to sound policies, because nobody is absent to shocks to happen. It could be health, like COVID. It could be geopolitical. And what is important is to maintain alert during normally permanently to try to limit or to avoid these shocks to transmit the economy in a high way.
So how crucial, Taha, is the continuation of fiscal, monetary and financial measures, and what kind of challenges lie ahead for Turkish economy amid this, as we've talked, uncertainty?
The largest risks going forward are with Turkey's trading partners. If they do not recover, if their consumer spending does not recover as well, I mean, that's obviously about 1/3, a little less than 1/3 of Turkey's economy is these trade with these countries. Then Turkey will also be adversely affected. But if we believe that the worst is behind us, that the pandemic will be put under control, that fiscal stimulus in Europe and the United States. Turkey's trading partner is Europe. So if Europe recovers quickly from this, if Europe's central bank, eases its monetary policy, which it has done, and allows for consumers to again spend and borrow where needed, and helps shore up companies and their ability to access financing, then our Turkey's largest trading partner won't be affected as adversely, and that's good news for Turkey. On the flip side, we talked about Turkey's largest component of Turkey's economy, the consumer spending, and that consumer spending is one which has rebounded largely during the pandemic and has actually become more efficient with all these people going online for spending. So obviously there are risks, but Turkey is well placed to weather those risks at present.
Yeah, let's hope that I hope the best for our European trade partners, gentlemen. We'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk. Boğaziçi University has long been recognized as one of Turkey's most prestigious institutions, but it's now become the site of a month-long protest. What started off as the disapproval of the university rector's appointment has morphed into something else. The Turkish government says that outside forces have hijacked the student protests to create turmoil. Turkey's interior minister says that dozens of protesters who were arrested weren't even students of the university. Ankara has also criticized a recent statement from the U.S. State Department regarding the protests. A Turkish government official warned that Washington's interference could fuel anti-American sentiment across the country. To discuss this further, from Istanbul, I'm joined by Vehbi Baysan. He is a political analyst and an assistant professor at İbn Haldun University. And from Ankara, Yusuf Alabarda. He is a security analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Before we start discussing the latest, let's listen to what Turkey's communication director, Fahrettin Altun, had to say about the ongoing protests at Boğaziçi University.
It has come to my attention that certain people are misinformed about the situation involving Boğaziçi University. Let's stop pretending that this is about freedom of expression and the right to peaceful protests. The president appointed a rector as part of his constitutional mandate. Most recently, a small and radicalized group surrounded the rector's building, blocked its exits, and attempted to invade the building. The police were consequently asked to step in, and several people were detained for breaking the law. The criminal offenses include depriving an individual of their physical freedom and damaging public property. There is no country on the planet where armed thugs get to threaten public officials and attempt to detain them because they don't approve of a lawful appointment.
So, Vehbi, could you expand on Mr. Altun's message, what he said and what he actually warned of?
Well, that's an interesting situation we're going through, especially so far as the higher education concerned in Turkey. The major question here, and I think it should be a topic of discussion in Turkey, a public debate, perhaps, at least among the academics, is that who would appoint or choose or elect a president of a university? In general, it was like the election process would go on, and then 3 candidates would be sent to the then president, whoever is the president, then this president would choose any of the 3. So say someone got 1,000 votes, someone got 500, someone got 2 votes. The president had such a power to elect anyone they wanted. And then this changed. That's why communications director Fahrettin Altun, Mr. Fahrettin Altun, saying that actually it was a lawful appointment. Yes, the law changed. And this time they said, we don't go through this. We are living in a new era, and a president should be appointed. So it is a curious question here, is that how these appointments will take place. So as of the very early date of January 21, Mr. Bulu was appointed there, and then an immediate reaction started. And that reaction, in the words of our communication director, is when out of hand and unacceptable scenes emerging. But also, if you ask the students, but also here we should mention that academics also joined in the protest or demonstration, saying that we don't accept an outside appointment. But I think, as I said, we are going through an interesting time, probably a transitional moment that universities will be kind of governed by the persons elected among them, or actually they will be, in order to be in the probably world class, as Boğaziçi University currently is, because according to the higher education rankings, this is one of the top universities, because it is between the 600 to 800, but the impact factor is between the 300, 400 universities in the world. So naturally, Boğaziçi academics and students wants to preserve that, and also rejecting or opposing any outside appointment. But having said that, Mr. Bulu is from his master's and PhD is from Boğaziçi, and he is not a total stranger to the system. But I think overall, the major question here, who appoints the president to these universities?
Okay, so Yusuf, what's your take on the latest developments? Turkish officials repeatedly say that some people are misinformed about the incidents and the situation in Boğaziçi, through which means you think they are misinformed?
Some of them has been misinformed, and some of them knows what's happening very well on the streets of the Istanbul. So for this reason, I do not think that this is the problem about the president of the University of Boğaziçi, which has been appointed by the president. The problem is that they are trying to find an excuse in order to create a turmoil, because we know very well in the Turkey that creating a turmoil was on the agenda of some countries. As we very well know that President of the United States, before being elected, said that we will get down Mr. Erdogan with our elements inside Turkey. So these are the clear statements that we know, and the Turkish security forces, including the intelligence, were hoping and waiting such kind of vandalism and turmoil on the streets of Istanbul. So such kind of appointments will be used in the future also for creating turmoil and vandalism on the streets of Istanbul. So what is the important side for the misinformation that we can tell to the public that the president has been appointed, as Mr. Vehbi said, in the legal frame of the president, and the president is qualified for being appointed as the president. Already, the president of the Boğaziçi University, which has been appointed by the president, was the rector of another university before those times. So for this reason, the disinformation should be cleaned from the minds of the people who is living abroad Turkey.
So, Vehbi, what do you make of the U.S. State Department's statement criticizing Turkey on these protests?
Well, that's probably part of the game. Internationally, obviously, certain scenes, certain pictures, certain, I don't know, like saying police brutality and the children were just peacefully demonstrating. These are the vocabulary and the scenes. So much had been circulated around the world, as well as in the U.S. Couple of, good newspapers published articles about it. So it seems that the U.S. Department failed to call for, let's say, calm and, sending outside warnings. But actually, U.S., so far as the regional policy is concerned, is responsible the death of over 1 million people in Iraq. And also we know their policy is just outside our borders too. But nevertheless, as far as these video footages circulate the world and showing that, I think according to Ministry of Interior statistics, over 500 students are arrested, but later released because to know who these people are, who's coming here and what's happening, if there is a real provocation or you name it. So these kind of things are in some circles twisted, and it seems some governments, now it started with the US, probably, if not already done, EU may send some messages as well.
Yes.
But this is not the bottom of the problem. Here, what we're talking about is a prestigious university. Also, what we realize that there are some circles, they're trying to take it out of this context,
yes,
and turn it into more street violence, etc. So I think we should receive these kind of messages from the US, especially with caution.
Okay, so Yusuf, could this latest spat between the two country officials add fuel to the already strained relations between the US and Turkey, and how will this play out moving forward?
Yeah, we can see that such kind of explanations which is coming from United States is adding fuel, as you said, to the anti-American sentiments which has been created inside Turkey. So for this reason, Americans should understand that such kind of explanations is not useful in order to create good relations with Turkey. They are just adding fuel to the anti-American sentiments inside Turkey. We know we are living in globalization 3.0, which means that what is happening in anywhere inside the world is being very well known by everybody inside Turkey or inside any around the corner of the world. So we know very well what has happened during the Ferguson events, what has happened during the Black Lives Matter protests,
yes,
and what has happened inside the Congress. I don't want to make a whataboutism, but we should understand that the rule of law is a very important cornerstone for United States, but also at the same time the Turkey.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk. And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Ayşe Süberker. If you've got any comments, follow us and tweet us at Straight Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.